You decide to buy a concrete mixer truck, and the first surprise is that a machine costing roughly $185,000 can generate about $200,000 per year and still leave only around $30,000 as true investment cash after you pay yourself fairly for driving it. The drum may rotate throughout the day, but movement alone does not pay the owner. Revenue comes from completed cubic yards, efficient delivery cycles, and a concrete plant that continues assigning loads to your truck. 1 week construction season, a major hydraulic repair, or several weeks without dispatches can erase the annual return. The model can work, but the truck must remain productive and the contract must pay enough to cover a delivery cost already approaching $30 per yard. Let's follow every dollar. For this representative scenario, you are not buying a concrete plant and you are not selling the concrete itself. You own one late model rear discharge mixer with roughly 10 cubic yards of usable capacity. You contract with a local ready-mix producer that controls batching, customer orders, and the dispatch schedule. Your truck and your labor provide the delivery. That distinction controls the entire investment. The concrete producer may charge the customer approximately $150 to $170 per cubic yard, depending on the local market, mix design, and additional fees. You do not collect that full amount. Cement, aggregate, plant labor, testing, sales, dispatch, and the producer's margin are all paid before your hauling fee appears. Your company operates inside the delivery portion of the final invoice. Assume you find a solid used mixer priced at $145,000. Sales tax, registration, inspection, tires, immediate repairs, and preparation for commercial work add another $15,000. You also retain $25,000 as working capital because fuel, insurance, and repairs arrive before every customer payment clears. The complete project now requires approximately $185,000. You put 25% down on the truck and pay the startup expenses in cash. Your personal capital at risk reaches roughly $75,000. Financing the remaining $109,000 over 6 years at a representative 9% interest rate creates annual debt payments near $24,000. This is an illustrative assumption rather than a universal financing quote. It shows the pressure clearly. The payment continues through rain, holidays, quiet construction months, and mechanical breakdowns. Buying newer equipment can reduce surprise repairs and improve uptime. It can also push the purchase price well above $200,000. An older mixer lowers the payment, but a worn drum, failing emission system, damaged hydraulic drive, or neglected transmission can quickly consume the money you thought you saved. You are choosing between predictable debt and less predictable downtime. Now build the revenue side. Industry benchmarking has placed average mixer utilization near 5,400 cubic yards per truck per year. A representative benchmark truck completes roughly 630 round trips, carries around 8.5 yards per delivery, and spends close to 2 hours completing each cycle. Using those figures, assume your contract pays $35 for every cubic yard delivered. At 5,380 yards, hauling revenue reaches approximately $188,000. At $12,000 from legitimate waiting time charges, weekend assignments, or contractual premiums, annual gross revenue reaches roughly $200,000. The figure looks attractive until you separate the truck's income from the value of your own work. Fuel is the first major operating expense. Mixer trucks are heavy, spend considerable time idling, and often operate at only 3 to 4 miles per gallon. At approximately 15,700 annual miles, 3.4 miles per gallon, and an assumed diesel price of $4.25, fuel costs about $19,600. Next, reserve $28,000 for routine maintenance, tires, brakes, hydraulics, washout service, and smaller repairs. Insurance may consume another $15,000. Registration, permits, bookkeeping, compliance, communications, and miscellaneous overhead take approximately $9,000. Debt service requires $24,000. You also place $12,000 into a replacement and major repair reserve so that future equipment costs do not disappear from the calculation. After those expenses, around $93,000 remains before paying anyone to drive. Suppose you operate the mixer yourself and assign $65,000 as fair compensation for your labor. The business then produces approximately $28,000 in distributable owner cash. Your total economic benefit is larger because you earned a driving salary. The investment itself did not create $93,000 of passive profit. It created a demanding full-time job and roughly $28,000 of return on the capital you placed at risk. That distinction separates earning a living from the machine from earning a return on the money invested in it. Subscribe if you want business ownership explained through the cash that actually survives. Hiring a driver changes the numbers again. Wages, payroll taxes, workers' compensation, overtime, and benefits can turn a $60,000 position into approximately $75,000 of employer cost. Under the same revenue assumptions, distributable owner cash may fall below $20,000. A one-truck operation can make money. It is rarely passive. The most important item in the business may be the dispatch ticket rather than the rotating drum. Each ticket starts a clock, the truck loads at the plant, travels to the project, waits for the crew or concrete pump, discharges, washes the chutes, and returns for the next assignment. Revenue depends more heavily on completed cycles than on distance alone. A short route leading to a prepared job site can be considerably more valuable than a longer delivery carrying the same volume of concrete. The contractor is purchasing synchronization. A concrete crew, pump operator, finishers, and additional equipment may all be waiting for your load. Arrive late and the project begins losing paid labor time. Arrive too early and the mixer may wait without compensation while the site catches up. The most valuable customer is often the one whose site is prepared, whose pours are predictable, and whose schedule allows your truck to complete another cycle before the day ends. This is where contract language becomes more important than the truck's appearance. Who pays for waiting at the job site? Is there a minimum daily volume? Does the rate adjust when fuel prices rise? Can the producer stop assigning work without guaranteeing any minimum? Who pays when concrete is rejected because the site changed the order? Are you permitted to work for another plant? A hauling rate of $35 per yard may appear healthy because industry benchmarking has placed average delivery costs close to $30 per cubic yard. Reduce the rate by only $5 and annual revenue falls by almost $27,000 at the same delivery volume. That change can erase nearly all of the investment return while the truck appears just as busy. Location creates similar leverage. Benchmark round trips have been close to 28 miles and approximately 114 minutes. Add heavy traffic, a distant subdivision, a slow batching line, or a job site with one narrow entrance and the cycle becomes longer. The additional fuel matters. Losing the next load can matter even more. 20 extra minutes repeated across hundreds of deliveries can consume enough productive time to eliminate dozens of annual trips. Then there is the concrete remaining inside the equipment. Every shift ends with washout because residue hardens inside the drum and along the chutes. Ignoring that buildup gradually forces the truck to carry dead weight instead of paying material. Usable payload declines. Fuel consumption rises. Eventually, the drum may require specialized cleaning. Entering and shipping hardened material inside the drum also involves serious confined space and equipment safety procedures. This is not a maintenance task to improvise. A disciplined owner pays for safe cleaning before buildup becomes a five-figure interruption. Preventive maintenance follows the same logic. A conventional highway tractor may sometimes complete a delivery with a minor mechanical problem and visit the shop afterward. A mixer with a failed hydraulic system may be unable to discharge its load. One event can create a repair bill, lost revenue, concrete cleanup consequences, and an unhappy producer or contractor at the same time. Now test the representative mixer during 2 ordinary years. In a strong year, construction demand remains steady and the plant dispatches 6,300 yards to your truck. Waiting time and premium charges add approximately $15,000. Gross revenue reaches around $236,000. Fuel, maintenance, and reserves rise with the additional work. Debt and insurance remain comparatively stable. After paying yourself roughly $68,000 for driving, distributable cash can approach $50,000. That is an attractive result on $75,000 of owner capital. The outstanding loan balance is also declining. The outcome still depends on uptime, delivery volume, and contract rate working together. Now examine a difficult year. The plant assigns only 4,300 yards. Premium charges decline. Revenue falls near $158,000. A normal hydraulic or emissions repair pushes maintenance toward $36,000. Insurance and debt barely change. The mixer may leave approximately $47,000 before paying for a driver. If you still require $65,000 as fair compensation for your labor, the operation is short almost $18,000. Subscribe for more real-world breakdowns where busy equipment does not guarantee profit. Nothing catastrophic caused the loss. There was no major collision and construction did not disappear completely. Delivery volume fell by roughly 20%. Premium income weakened. One expensive repair arrived. Those moderate changes were enough because several obligations continue every month regardless of dispatch volume. The structural risk begins with downtime. A warning light removes the truck from service. You miss 2 loads that day and lose the following morning while a shop diagnoses the problem. The producer cannot delay customer pours, so dispatch assigns those tickets to another mixer. When that replacement performs reliably, the plant may not return all the volume after your repair is complete. Lower revenue drains cash. The maintenance reserve becomes smaller. The following repair becomes harder to absorb. A one-truck company has no internal backup. A larger fleet can move drivers and assignments between vehicles. You cannot. Your productive asset, revenue source, and often your full-time job are all connected to one set of keys. Strong operators protect the model before signing the financing agreement. First, they secure the hauling contract before purchasing the truck. A verbal promise that there will be plenty of work does not pay the lender. They understand the rate per yard, waiting compensation, fuel provisions, dispatch priority, payment schedule, and termination rights. Second, they preserve liquidity. Using every available dollar as a down payment lowers the monthly obligation. It also leaves the business exposed when an engine, sensor, tire replacement, insurance renewal, and delayed payment arrive during the same period. $25,000 of working capital may feel excessive while the truck operates normally. It feels very different when the mixer is parked and the loan payment remains due. Third, they measure revenue by productive hour rather than cubic yards alone. 2 routes paying the same rate can produce different results when one allows 3 cycles and the other only 2. The owner records plant waiting, road time, job site waiting, discharge, washout, and return time. That information provides evidence when renegotiating rates or identifying assignments that quietly lose money. Fourth, they maintain the vehicle before the calendar becomes crowded. Preventive service costs cash and removes the mixer from operation during a planned period. Emergency repairs choose the date for you, usually when the truck is fully booked. Growth creates another decision. Adding a second mixer can spread office overhead and provide backup capacity. It also adds another payment, another insurance policy, and usually another driver. The second truck should follow proven contracted demand. Purchasing it because the first mixer had one excellent month converts temporary activity into permanent debt. Ownership also provides less control than the title may suggest. The plant controls the concrete supply and usually manages dispatch. Contractors control whether the job site is ready. Traffic and weather influence the delivery cycle. Regulators control vehicle weight, driver qualifications, safety, and operating requirements. The lender controls what happens when payments stop. Your main areas of control are maintenance, service quality, liquidity, and the contract you agree to accept. When the time comes to sell, buyers examine more than mileage. Drum condition, internal wear, hydraulic performance, chassis hours, emissions, equipment, tires, service records, and corrosion all influence value. The hauling agreement may not transfer to the next owner. A profitable owner-operated route can therefore become little more than a used specialized truck during the sale. The exit value of a one-truck company depends on whether you created a transferable operation or mainly created work for yourself. Clean financial records, documented maintenance, several customer relationships, and a driver capable of operating without you improve the value of the business. Without those elements, the buyer is primarily purchasing equipment. Subscribe for the next ownership test before you finance the wrong machine. So, is a concrete mixer truck worth owning? It can be when you have a written source of delivery volume, a rate comfortably above the true cost per yard, enough liquidity for downtime, and the ability to operate the truck yourself. Under the representative assumptions, the mixer can pay a solid driving income and produce approximately $28,000 of additional owner cash during an average year. A strong year can produce much more. A moderate decline in volume can turn that return negative. The most important variable is not how quickly the drum rotates. It is how many profitable cubic yards complete the entire cycle from the batching plant to a clean return before the truck's limited working day disappears.